So we'll get started by saying 3, 2, 1. And I am very pleased to be here today with Tristeza Ordez of Vote Vets. She is no stranger to Latino Victory. We've had the pleasure of working together for a while now on a number of issues as well as some candidate work. Thank you so much, Triste, for joining us. Are you in Texas today?
I am. I'm at home.
There you go. I love that. And I'm joining everyone from the Sunshine State of Florida, where we have a lot of activations going today and into the weekend, where we will be joining all Florida Democrats for their state convention. So, Triste, thank you so much for joining Latino Victory. For those who are joining for the first time, my name is Catherine Pichardo. I am president and CEO at Latino Victory, where we have one singular mission, which is to build Latino political power so our voices and values are represented in the policies that move our country forward. And so, Triste, I know you've joined me on this recording before. So, for folks who didn't watch, and please bring us up to speed on where we left off on your journey, right? From the daughter of farm workers to the U.S. Marines and a military career, and of course, the work that you're doing now in advocacy and engagement with Vote Vets.
Well, it's been like a year, I want to say, when we first did the first Substack Live. Of course, it's an honor to be here and to be working alongside you and Latino Victory. It's crazy to think that in the year that we started doing work together through both Vets and Latino Victory, we've collaborated on so many different things, from issues to doing the Texas border tour, and supporting candidates, also going to some of the trainings that y'all have put together that some of our Vote Vets candidates have been able to attend from around the country. So it's been amazing. And, like you mentioned, coming from a family of farm workers, working in the fields myself, to joining the Marines, and having a career of nearly 11 years, and then transitioning into this work. Really my transition out of the military into politics was, I kind of fell into it. When Trump announced he was going to run, and the horrible things that he said about Mexicanos specifically hit me really hard, because I had only been a few months out of the Marine Corps. And that moment has kind of turned into my life's work, representing my community of Latinos, moms, veterans, in this work has been really important. And doing this work now for 11 years, and being at Vote Vets, and doing work with other Latino veterans, seeing other Latino veterans running for office, has been incredible. And the work continues. I'm excited about what's to come for the next year. Vote Vets turned 20 years old this year, and I'm really honored to be a part of the work that we're doing here.
And that's a great anniversary. And it kind of brings me to the thoughts for this Substack when we first started talking about getting back together, and really the commemoration of our nation's 250th anniversary. I think it's something that we need to pause to think about, not just from the perspective of celebration, right? Which, of course, we are proud to be Americans. We serve our country in different ways. We live, work, and raise our families here. And I love that you mentioned being a mom, because I know for many of us, that's a very important aspect of our everyday life, and how we intentionalize the work, right? Because we're not just trying to make sure that we have a good future for ourselves, but also for the generations to come. And so, tell me a little bit about how you personally are commemorating the 250th anniversary of our country, and then also where you think we are and where we're going. Right?
Yeah, I think that for me, I'm commemorating the 250th celebration, doing this work. I can't imagine doing anything else or celebrating it in any other way. And I think that I have seen many share that they have felt conflicted about what we're celebrating here, right? Some folks feel that we're going backwards. And for me, the thing that I carry every single day in this work is this conversation I had with my son when Trump won the last election. And he was like, what are we going to do? What's going to happen? And I told him, I don't know what's going to happen, pero we got to keep fighting. And for me, when I think about the work that Vote Vets has done and why it's in existence, it started, as a result of what was happening in the Iraq War, and brought veterans together to make sure that we were fighting against things that just didn't align with what we served for. And I think that where we're headed right now, is a very dangerous place if we don't stop it. Um, but I think about my dad's words, and he would always be like, "No te des por vencida," or "No te rindas,"
No te
and
dejes.
"No te dejes," échale ganas. I think about those words, and I'm like, I can't give up. Everything that our families have sacrificed to come to this country. I think about those things that my dad, cuando nos regañaba y nos decía, yo vine a este país para esto y yo quería esto para ustedes. And, at the time I was like, okay, not again, that line. But it rings so true. And especially in moments like this, that, you think about those sacrifices that people make, the sacrifices like Lorenzo Araujo, um, the sacrifices like Narciso Barranco, the sacrifices like Arelis Martinez, their sacrifices of coming to this country and contributing to it and everything that we give to it, and not just Latinos, but all immigrants.
For sure. And, the United States, uh, through its inception, is a country of immigrants. And for many of us who are Latino, our families were here even before the United States existed, right? So it is a complicated commemoration. It is certainly a celebration of how far we've come and the moment that we're in and the lives that we've built, but also, as you mentioned, a real commitment to continue to make it a better place. This American
Absolutely.
experiment that we all believe in, that we are all striving for, that includes life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for every person, is really what's at stake here and what's in the fight. And you talked about your dad, and you mentioned two fathers who recently were victims of the overreach by ICE into our communities. And
Yeah.
so I want to spend a little bit of time just um, putting a point on this moment. And I would like to know, from your perspective, what does it mean for veterans, particularly Latino veterans or immigrant veterans? Um, what does it mean for them, what they're seeing on the streets, with immigration enforcement? Is this something that impacts them in any way?
Absolutely. It absolutely impacts. And there are conversations that I've had, as I've been traveling around the country. and that I'm sure are going to continue to come up as I continue to go from state to state meeting veterans. And a big part of what we're doing with that is to really understand not just Latino veterans, but the veteran community as a whole, where we stand with the lawlessness that we're seeing. It impacts us in many ways. Our families, ourselves. We've seen people like George Retes, a U.S. citizen, an Army veteran that was assaulted by ICE. Um, it impacts our families. I mentioned Arelis Martinez from here, from the Dallas area. Her husband, Wilmer, served in the U.S. Army, and his wife is currently detained and has been detained for almost 30 days. No criminal record at her immigration appointment. It affects our mental health. I include myself in that, and thinking that I have to prepare my family every single time that I leave home to be like, hey, si algo pasa, here's who you need to talk to. And, talking about it right now, I feel it in my body. It's hard to think about families like Lorenzo and Joan Sebastian and what their families must be going through at this moment. I have many, many times thought about my dad in the last week and what I would do if my own service could not protect my dad. And it's heartbreaking. Pero, you mentioned what earlier about how we honor the 250. I honor it by making sure I continue to fight, and that we all continue to fight to make sure that we protect every Lorenzo and every Gonzalo and every Joan and every single person that stands the risk of being touched by this. I get emotional about it because they're everybody's dad right now. And that should make us want to do more.
And for every American, not just for us in this advocacy space, but it's really a moment uh, in which, if you're alive, you can't sit this one out. Um,
Absolutely.
and I say that over and over again to anyone who will listen. The fact is that we see so much incoming from so many different directions, right? The economy, the war,
Yeah.
what's happening in our schools as it relates to safety, uh, climate challenges, right? We have all these heat waves. Who do you think suffers most, if
Yeah,
not Latino
absolutely.
families from, the climate crisis? So there's so much, right, that is put on, and our bodies, our immigrant spirit is inclined to fight. Sometimes it could get a little overwhelming. So I want to touch on mental health. You talked about it a little bit, um, especially amongst Latino families. Actually, people of color, there's such a stigma around mental health. Tell
Yeah.
me a little bit about where you see the state of play with veterans and mental health in this moment in America. Are we really doing enough for our veterans?
I think that there's a lot more that can be done. And I think that there's things that are going on right now that are setting us back, especially as it relates to mental health. This administration is creating an enormous mental health crisis. And veterans are a big part of that. I've had conversations with veterans that have said that this has triggered their PTSD. I have talked with veterans that are concerned about their children that come home asking questions about some of the immigration things that are happening. This administration is starting more wars, but defunding our VA healthcare system, and trying to privatize it. And then it's trying to pin veteran against veteran by taking benefits from one veteran to give to another. And this is all coming from the party that's saying we're pro veteran, we're pro military, but you're putting us in wars. You're not funding our health care, and you're not taking care of us the way that we need or our families. And again, when I say that we're headed in a very dangerous place if we do not put a stop to this, is an understatement. But the thing that we can do here, and that both our organizations are doing, is electing the leaders that are going to get us back on track in the right direction. And people like Joanna, Mendoza that's running. We have people like Demi Pellicek that also Vote Vets and Latino Victory have endorsed, and other great leaders that both our organizations have endorsed around the country that we are working with, and to make sure that we flip these seats so that we end a lot of this chaos.
For sure. And the fact is that, as we've said many times here, representation matters, right? You want the folks at the table where decisions are made to
Absolutely.
be truly representative of their constituents and the needs of our communities. And so we talked about a few candidates. You mentioned Joanna and the me and others. Um, but the fact is that many in Congress right now feel helpless, right? Because the Republicans control the House, they control the Senate, they have the White House with a complicit Supreme Court. And
Yeah.
so, as we work very hard this cycle into 2026 and winning back Congress, and then potentially winning back the White House in 2028, what are the trends that you see, and specifically with veterans, when you're out there knocking on doors, engaging them, educating them on the issues? What are some of the things that you hear back and that we need to work on collectively to ensure that folks are informed, engaged, and actually turn out to vote this election?
Yeah, I mentioned that I've been traveling the country. We've been putting together these veterans happy hours. And really, the name of it is like what we're trying to bring is some joy. Veterans right now are trying to figure out what to do. How do I get involved? How do I get more involved? What is there? What's going on? Like, and all of that curiosity is what brings them to our events. I was recently in Tucson and we did a Veterans Happy Hour in Arizona 6, where we had a lot of veterans come into the room. And I always start with a simple question and, how are y'all feeling about what's going on? And a lot of them sometimes don't even verbalize. They put their heads down and shake their heads and are like in disappointment. And I share with them about what we're doing to try to help out. And they feel more encouraged when they leave there, giving them an action that they can take. Veterans are really looking for a place to put that energy. They want to make sure that they're supporting candidates that are not putting us in more wars. They want to make sure they're supporting veterans that are helping pass common sense legislation, that they're not being crushed under the burden of the economy right now, what we're seeing with gas prices and what we're seeing with grocery prices and housing. They want people that are not going to be favoring corporations, but the people. These culture wars, they're tired of seeing that, and that's kind of a trigger phrase, culture wars. These issues do matter still, bodily autonomy, access to healthcare, all of those things they're not culture wars, they're things that are needed that we still need to have. But the kitchen table issues that everybody is having about, you know, vamos a comer, vamos a comprar groceries, o vamos a pagar la luz. They want people that want to help with that.
And the fact is that we've seen in poll after poll that the kitchen table issues take priority. But it's let's be very clear, that doesn't mean that folks don't care about these other issues. It
Yes.
just means that they're struggling and they're really feeling the pain of this economy and where we're at in this moment. And so, in terms of the candidates that we have coming up and your feelings around this election, I had a wonderful lunch with a member of the U.S. Senate yesterday, and I asked how he was feeling about the midterm elections. What are your thoughts? Where do you see the opportunities? Tell us a little bit about some of the vote candidates that you're super excited about and the work that you're doing.
Yeah, well, I mentioned I was in Tucson recently, in Joana Mendoza's district. It was great to be back there because that was actually the first place I did a happy hour. And also, Joe and I have a lot of similarities. We're both Marines. We were both drill instructors. We're both moms. We're both Latinas from immigrant families. So there's a lot of cross identity there. I'm extremely excited about her race and that win, flipping that seat. This week, we're headed over to Connecticut. We're going to be doing an event with one of our candidates out there, Luke Bronin. We're so excited about him and his race, and we're trying to get him past his primary. So if folks are in Connecticut and want to learn more, give us a little follow and join us there. We're going to have a barbecue slash carne asada.
I
So
love
anyone that
that.
like to join. Yeah, and then we're going to be hitting a few other places. We'll be in New York and in New Jersey with both Kate Conley and Rebecca Bennett, two seats that we're trying to flip there as well. In a few other places around the country, I mentioned we'll be in Florida working with Alex Vinman, Bill Dalton, and Leela Gray. So if veterans are looking to get plugged in or learn more about the work that we're doing in their state, I would recommend for folks to reach out to us on social media to be able to get them connected.
And they could reach you at votevets.com also as well, or .org. Tell us
Dot
your
org.
website.
Yes, so we're at votevets.org if you want to check out all of the veterans that we are supporting around the country. And we're not only supporting federal candidates, we support all the way down to the local level. So if you want to see if we're supporting a veteran that's running locally in your city or in your state, you can look on there. Folks can also reach us at Vote Vets on all social media platforms, or they can reach me on Instagram or Substack at Triste en Texas.
Gracias, Triste. And you mentioned uh, the trainings that we do and endorsing candidates up and down the ballot. So I'm going to make a plug for folks. If you are out there and you have an interest in what's going on in our country, um, run.
Yes.
There is no barrier to entry big enough to prevent every citizen in this country from wanting to run for office. And you have two resources here in Latino Victory. You can find us at latinovictory.org and with Vote Vets, so that we can help train you to be a successful candidate. And we are some of the few national organizations that actually support people from school board to president of the United States. So we need you one more time to serve our country in these important positions, because the bottom line is, if we're not at the table, then we're on the menu. So
No,
thank
eso
you
sí.
for so thank you so much for watching. Please follow our organizations. Please connect. Um, Let us know if you are looking to run, if you're looking to volunteer, to be engaged. Any questions about the political process? Any questions about the candidates? That is the work for us that's meaningful in this moment. Not only as we commemorate our country and those who served our country, but also the work that still needs to be done. So thank you, and thank you, Triste, once again for joining us.
Claro. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Take care. Bye bye.